At 3 a.m., a millionaire caught me studying calculus on his marble floor flashlight, in one hand, $5 paperback in the other, and he thought that was the craziest part of the night. It wasn't he fired me on the spot. Said people like me didn't belong in his living room pretending to be smart. And I walked out calm, because the truth is, I wasn't pretending, I was preparing. My name is Keisha Williams. I'm 26. I clean penthouses at night and study by any light I can find. You know what I mean. I grew up where buses run late and bills run early, where my mom Barbara keeps blood pressure pills next to grocery coupons, where my sisters Jennifer and Tracy split shifts at a diner and still come home smelling like coffee and grit. I graduated economics summa cum laude, sent 100 resumes, got 3 polite rejections that all said the same quiet thing: not our culture. So I found another door. That's how I ended up in Richard Sterling's $30 million glass castle, the kind of place that looks like a magazine and sounds like money breathing for 6 months. I was the ghost who left everything spotless, the girl with the mop who turned off lights, lined up remotes, and collected trash without collecting eye contact. And while I worked, I watched. Not the people who earned their way, I watched the people who thought they did, the ones who leave open folders on tables, who take calls on speaker while pouring the good whiskey, who say names and amounts like the air can be trusted to keep secrets. The night he found me studying, I'd already finished my shift, rags, folded, counters glowing. I was tracing derivatives with a dollar store pen when the elevator sighed, and that voice hit me. "What the hell are you doing here?" He walked down the stairs in silk pajamas like he invented stairs, said, "This isn't a library you clean. Then you leave people like you don't play student in my home." And I felt the old heat rise in my chest. But I kept it cool, with respect, sir. The place is spotless. He leaned close, tall and sure. "You're done here, no references, no second chances." And that's when I gave him the smallest smile, because I'd been waiting for him to say it out loud. Have you ever heard the saying about not underestimating the people who are always watching? Yeah. He didn't like that. Morning hit different, not because I lost the job, because a door had finally shut, the way I needed it to. I walked to the public library, the one where computers wheeze like hairdryers, laid out 6 months of careful notes, land purchase agreements that bloomed exactly where permits would appear, consulting fees that looked a lot like payoffs, group texts about public auctions that somehow felt choreographed. I mapped it with a blunt pencil. Money goes here, favors go there, timelines overlap like a rigged dance, and while I did that, my phone buzzed with a text from my little sister. "Do you have something yet?" Mom's worried about the bills, $43 left in the house, and I'm staring at proof that a man who laughed at my flashlight used the dark a whole different way. Here's the twist, and it lands right in the middle of this story. I didn't stumble into this. I chose it after the rejections. I studied the cleaning company's routes and schedules, raised my hand for the Sterling penthouse, like it was a class I needed to pass. Arrived 40 minutes early because he left the biggest clues right after late meetings. I wasn't playing detective for thrills. I was building a record for when the day finally came: receipts, not rumors, dates, not gossip, screenshots, and copies, everything you need when powerful people pretend paper can't talk. Word of my firing traveled faster than I did at the Ravencrest Club, where men laugh loud when they think the world belongs to them. Richard turned me into a joke. She was doing calculus on my floor. Can you believe it? And a server overheard it, a journalism student named Marcus Thompson, who worked nights to pay for school and days chasing stories nobody wants to touch. He found me at the library, introduced himself like a person who knows how dangerous it is to ask for trust, said he'd been on Sterling for 2 years, but couldn't get close to the flame without losing eyebrows. I opened my notebook and watched his face quiet down. "God," he whispered, "this isn't smoke, this is the fire plan." We spent weeks doing the boring, brave work, cross-checking transfers with signatures matching calendar invites to rushed permits, tracing shell companies that shared P.O. boxes with ghosts. 3 contacts at City Hall confirmed what the rumors always promised. And then karma did what it does when you've done your homework. The security camera that watches Richard's art also watched his meetings. One clip had him leaning in with that careful voice people use when they think the room is loyal, offering what he shouldn't. For information, he definitely shouldn't have audio, clean timestamps, clear like the universe signing our affidavit. We set the story for Monday at 6 a.m. because scandal with coffee hits the bloodstream faster. Marcus and his editor locked the front page, scheduled the site, and socials printed proof sheets that smelled like ink and consequences. The night before, I sat with my mom on the couch. She looked at me like mothers do when they feel a storm coming and want to make sure you've got a coat, baby. "What are you about to do justice?" I said. "Not revenge. Justice." She held my face and nodded slow like a prayer. 6 a.m. Phones woke up the whole city. The headline was a knife that didn't need to shout. Millionaire empire built on bribes and fraud documents and recordings. Exposed scheme partners started pretending they were victims, investors. Drafted statements that said shock while calling their lawyers. The bank froze accounts that used to move money like a river. The mayor did that press conference face that says I am both surprised and very busy. And Richard called his assistant, then his lawyer, then anyone who could hold a ladder on a collapsing building. By 9:15, the group chat for Harbor Heights sounded like a fire alarm. By 10, the club where he mocked me posted a sign that said, "Closed for deep cleaning." And I swear I laughed out loud on the bus, yeah. That happened. Around 10:30, the intercom in his penthouse crackled with my name. "I'm here to return something you left behind." 5 minutes later, I was standing in the same room where he told me people like me don't study, only now the light was different. And so was the power. I put the paper with his picture on the desk and said, "I thought you might want a signed copy." He tried to negotiate with a smile. "What do you want?" "Money, a job." "Silence," I told him. I wanted my mom to stop counting pills, my sisters to sleep like students, not servers, this city to stop being a vending machine for the already full. But mostly, I wanted the truth to put its shoes on and go outside. He asked if I planned it. I said, "I prepared. That's not the same thing. Planning is what you do to other people. Preparing is what you do, so they can't do it to you." His phone rang mid-speech. His lawyer didn't even warm up. "They're freezing everything you need to come in before there's a warrant." Richard looked at the window like the skyline could vote. Then he looked at me and finally saw the woman who cleaned his glass well enough for him to see himself. The next months were loud and quiet. Investigations, indictments, auctions, interviews. The empire he built on shortcuts got dismantled, one document at a time. He went from a corner office to an orange jumpsuit because paper doesn't care how expensive your pen was. I received a cooperation reward that didn't buy happiness, but it bought breathing room. My mom retired, her tired feet, and started a garden. My sisters enrolled in school without negotiating their sleep, and I took a job as a senior analyst where I read risk like it's written in neon. First week, I flagged a deal that smelled like déjà vu. Fast permits. Friendly consultants. Round numbers, we walked away. The partners said, "I saved them from a fire they hadn't seen yet." Marcus won an award and started a small foundation to teach kids how to pull public records and ask the kind of questions power hates. Sometimes I stand in a classroom and tell them what anger taught me. Anger without strategy is noise. Anger with strategy is justice, you know what I mean. Now here's the part that makes people argue in the comments was, "I write to take a cleaning job with a second agenda. Some say that's deceit." Was, "I wrong to document papers inside a home where I worked." Some say lines matter more than outcomes. Did Richard deserve the time he got, or a chance to make it right? Outside, some say white collar isn't real until a neighborhood goes hungry. I can't close those debates for you. I can only tell you what it felt like to count dollars like heartbeats, to hear not a fit, and know it meant not your face to study in the dark, because sometimes that's the only place the light can't be shut off by someone else. And I can tell you this. The day he told me people like me don't belong in rooms like his, I realized people like me built the rooms, cleaned them, kept the lights on, and learned enough math to calculate when to flip the switch. If this hit you in the chest, do something with it. Like the video, if you believe strategy beats arrogance, share it with someone who's been underestimated, and tell me below where you stand. Was I right? Was I wrong? Where would you draw the line between privacy and public good? What have you seen in your city or your job that made you rethink who gets to hold power? Drop your story, argue with me respectfully. Let's make the comments a place where the quiet people finally talk.